This October, I challenged myself to watch a new horror movie every single day, all while traveling across the country and visiting family. Here's how it went.
Winds blow, the dead leaves fall. To you, I did surrender.
Hello, welcome back. I'm on the road this week. I'm in Indiana. I'm on the way to Kansas to see my cousin in a play that is really cool. It is the 13th of October, and I'm slowly making through a bunch of horror movies. I've seen 9 so far. I'm a little bit, or 10 maybe. I'm a little bit behind from some family stuff that I was busy with last week, and this week I'm on the road and I'm hoping to catch up a little, but we'll see how we go. Anyways, I'm going to talk about some of the ones that I've seen so far while my phone charges, and that's what we're doing right now. It's also the morning and I slept in my van and I don't look amazing. Happy day, happy spooky time. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is the first one that I saw. It's fun. It's a fun time. There's a lot more scenes of Scooby and Shaggy just eating food, lots and lots of food than I remember. Like, it takes up a good, like, I know that that's a lot of what they do, but it takes up like a large amount of the runtime of the movie, which is funny. And there's some pacing stuff that I think is a little weird. I think mostly just because this is the first, or one of the first, like, straight-to-DVD Scooby-Doo movies, and it kind of has the same pacing of, like, an episode, so there's, like, it takes a little while before, like, the titular zombies of Zombie Island actually show up, but when they do, it's awesome. It rules. We get a lot of genuinely creepy imagery, as well as some, like, very, very fun PG gore, and just a fun zombie time. Good stuff all around. Also, spoilers for this old Scooby-Doo movie, but there's werecats at the end. The twist is that the zombies were caused by these werecats. And it comes out of fucking nowhere. It's barely alluded to. It's an incredible twist, like, not because it's set up well, but just because it's of the, like, what the fuck factor, and it very much scared me as a kid, and I think there's some genuinely creepy imagery in this one, and I kind of love it, even though it's not really set up well, just because it's so, like, what the fuck is this? Why is this in the movie about zombies? Yeah, good time. It's fun movie. Next, I watched Children of the Corn. I watched this on Shudder through, they have a program called The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. This is sort of a, like, what do you call it? A revival, I guess, of Joe Bob Briggs, who was this horror TV host in, I want to say, the 90s, but I don't know, actually. Go look up the Cinemassacre video on Joe Bob Briggs. He does a pretty good job of covering his whole history. He had a show called Monster Vision where he would, like, show horror movies and stuff. And that's what this is, basically. It's fun. Joe Bob is a really fun, charismatic host. I actually like the structure of, like, cutting away from the movie, like, letting the movie play for a bit and then cutting in between, where there normally would be commercial breaks, but it's on a streaming service, so there aren't. And then instead it's like him talking commentary about the movie and offering trivia and stuff. And he has an encyclopedic knowledge of horror movies and movies in general. And yeah, he just has, like, a fun dynamic. It feels kind of like watching a movie with your friends. I definitely recommend, if you get Shudder for the spooky times, which I usually do, checking out some of the Joe Bob show. Sometimes the movies aren't necessarily amazing, but they're fun to watch with his commentary because it kind of feels like watching a movie with your friends, right? Anyways, Children of the Corn. It's a Stephen King story that I was always curious about but never got around to. And yeah, it's pretty creepy. We get young Linda Hamilton right around the same time as Terminator. I think the same year as Terminator this one came out. And yeah, it's creepy kids in the corn, and they've made a cult, but also maybe there's something spooky in the corn. It's fun. It's very like 80s camp. There's some really good child performances, and they made like a million sequels to this for some reason. I don't know. I thought it was fun. Is it the best 80s horror movie ever? Nope, but it's a good time. Oh, next I watched Lisa Frankenstein. This one I was curious about because it's directed by Zelda Williams, who is the daughter of Robin Williams, but she also has a ton of voice acting. She's very talented in her own right, and this is her directorial debut. Basically, it's a rom-com. It's like an 80s rom-com with some horror twists, and it's sort of a retelling of Frankenstein, but it's more goofy and more romantic. And like an 80s teen rom-com, but with a Frankenstein in it. And it's pretty fun. I liked it. What is the lead actress in this? Catherine Newton. I like her. I think she's really charismatic. She's really fun in this role. She's having a ton of fun playing it. And she's in a bunch of stuff recently. A good amount of horror stuff recently. She's very talented. I like her. Cole Sprouse is the Frankenstein monster. He's fine. He does a good job here. He's weird. He's a weirdo. Oh yeah, I like that this one didn't like it. It's another one where it's the 80s. Remember the 80s, but they didn't lean too hard into it. It's just like that's the aesthetic and the costumes and stuff, but we're not like going over the top with the 80s music or like, hey, remember this from the 80s? It's just kind of like the setting. Oh yeah, what's her name is in this one? Carla Gugino? What the fuck is her name? Carla Gugino. I was close. Oh, and the 80s dad from Stranger Things, who plays the most 80s dad. Good casting. I liked that this one had like a bit of a twist on the Frankenstein story. Like they have to keep getting new body parts throughout the movie to attach to him, and so like they end up killing people throughout the movie. That's fun. It's a fun time. Yeah, a little bit Heathers vibes. Have you ever seen that one? Yeah, pretty good. I liked it. Next, I watched VHS Beyond. This is a exclusive to Shudder, but I think it was in theaters somewhere. This is part of a anthology series of the VHS movies. There's been a few of them now, and this is the only one I've seen. But from my understanding, each one is like a collection of found footage horror shorts, basically. This one's called Beyond, and it has like sort of a sci-fi theme to it. The reason I was curious about this one is that it has a short directed by Kate Siegel, who you may know from all of the Mike Flanagan projects. It's written by Mike Flanagan, and it's starring Alana Pierce, who I've been following for a while now. She was a former member of Funhouse, this like comedy gaming channel, and now she works at Sony Santa Monica, working on like God of War Ragnarok and stuff. She's like a writer, and she does a lot of video game related stuff, and she's done a little bit of acting, but this is kind of one of the first big acting roles she's been in, so I was like curious to check it out. Also because Kate Siegel, who's been in a ton of really great horror stuff, so I'm excited to see her direct. And the GOAT, Mike Flanagan, is involved, so of course that's enough for me to check out. But this one, of course, has sort of a bunch of horror shorts, so I'm going to go through them quickly. First one is called Stork. This one had some fun action and a cool creature design, but I found the like super cop group kind of cringe, mostly just because I'm like, anytime the cops are heroes and stuff, I'm like a little bit like less into these days. Mostly I'm just saying like this one in particular I didn't vibe with, just because it was like, oh yeah, we're the super awesome cops who like work outside the law to fight monsters because only cops are badass enough to whatever. And I'm like, just make it like a weird secret agency. Why do they have to be cops? I guess so that they have like body cam footage, but then they also have a guy just with a camera, and it's just, I don't know. This one like had some like fun campy zombie action, but like the whole vibe of it and the characters I was like not really a fan of. The next one was called Dream Girl. This one was really cool. They had like a whole Bollywood musical number in the middle of it, which was really, really fun. And it's like kind of a commentary on celebrity culture and the Bollywood system, how celebrities are sometimes like feel like they're manufactured, interesting stuff like that. And yeah, cool monster. Good, like that one. And very different vibe from the rest of them, which I thought was also, yeah, actually quite a range in vibes for this one, which I thought was cool. That's another thing that's fun about like horror anthologies or short anthologies in general, is that like you get a variety of stuff, and even if something you're not really vibing with, it's going to be over in like 10 minutes. So, don't worry about it. Something else will come up and maybe you'll like that more. Next one was called Live and Let Die. This one I thought was like technically maybe executed the best. One of the best understandings of the assignment, I felt. It's like these people skydiving for like a birthday thing, and then a UFO shows up and like fucks everything up. And like one of the best uses I thought of the like VHS found footage aesthetic too, because like they have the one main character attaches a GoPro to themselves at the start of the thing, and then they just like forget that they have it, and we're just like seeing their point of view as like all this crazy shit is going down. And it's just very well executed. Some really, really good jump scares. I thought the effects were really, really solid throughout. There's a lot of like long takes, and like obviously there's definitely some hidden cuts in there, but it's done very, very well. Good technical horror short. Very, 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 very good. Good one. The next one was called Fur Babies, which I think was done by Justin Long. Yes, written by Justin Long and Christian Long, who I'm guessing is like his brother or something. So it's got like Tusk vibes. I haven't seen Tusk, but if you know the premise, like it's kind of similar to that. Very, very weird and very funny, dark and twisted. I like the concept of like these like PETA-esque animal activists are like breaking into this, or like sneaking into this person's dog daycare center, because they think that animals are maybe being abused there, or maybe being like, they have some dogs that are like taxidermied, and they're like, that's fucked up. And then like what's actually going on there is like so much fucking worse. I like that idea of like questioning something that's like maybe objectionable, and then like discovering something far, far worse. Also great lead performance. And then final one was Stowaway, which was the one that I was going on about. Written by Mike Flanagan, directed by Kate Siegel, and starring Alana Pierce. And it's the best one. It's really, really good. Again, it's one that like understood the assignment. There's a lot of shots that are like not good shots, because the premise is that it's a like amateur documentarian trying to capture UFO footage, and it's Alana playing the lead character. And so like a lot of her shots are bad. Like they're not well framed. There's like people standing in like awkward positions. It's really like, it's kind of funny at parts, and it has the best emotional core to the story, which is done very, very simply, but it works. And it has the like most existentially terrifying horror in it. Live and Let Dive or whatever, which has a bad name, but good jump scares. This one has Stowaway has very, very good like, that's horrifying. That's a horrifying. The way that like it wraps up is like the most horrifying thing, and it like sticks with you. You think about it later. Alana, I think, did a really good job here. It's a tough role because she's like, it's just her carrying the whole thing. What I found strange was, because I'm familiar with like some of her other work, I know that she's Australian and she's doing an American accent here, and it's not a bad accent necessarily, but like, because I know that she's Australian, I'm like listening for the times where she breaks, and she does occasionally. Like it's like, oh, that's not exactly how an American would say that. So that's on me more, just because I know her from other stuff. If I didn't, I think I think I would probably be like, yeah, good job, good performance. And I did think she did a good job. There was like moments where I'm like, that's not what your voice sounds like. But that's my fault, just because that's just like a mental thing of like not being able to detach her from her other work, which is not to detract. I don't think she was bad in the role. That was just like a thing that I noticed. Oh yeah, they did some cool stuff with like infrared and just, again, like understanding the assignment and using the VHS found footage aesthetic like to its fullest. Very, very good. Good job. That's that one. That was long. Oh yeah, I watched The Craft next. Rules. Great movie. 90s high school witches. Great premise. Great premise. Neve Campbell's in there. The main actress. Well, the main one is not the one that I care about. The main interesting one, not the main protagonist, is Nancy, played by Fairuza Balk, who was also in Return to Oz as a little kid. Very, very fun, very 90s. I could see a lot of people really, really vibing with this movie, especially like as a teenager. I think it's really, really fun and really cool. I totally get it. I get why like this is a cult classic. There's some stuff I think doesn't quite work towards the end of the movie, like they kind of try to do like it's a careful what you wish for kind of situation. I don't think it's all super executed as well. Like Nancy, the main villain, kind of the main like goth looking one, who has a great look and is like super duper fun to watch. So like even though she's kind of more villainous, like you're still kind of rooting for her because she's just a very fun character. And then like some of the other stuff with the black girl, who I forget her name, sorry. Here, I'll just look it up because I feel bad. Rochelle, the other one that's there. Oh yeah, Skeet Ulrich is also there from Scream. He plays like kind of the same character a little bit. Yeah, Rochelle is the other one that's there, and she gets like the least developed, and I feel bad for her. Neve Campbell is fine. Again, also a little bit underdeveloped. But yeah, here's my thing. Going a little spoilery into The Craft. You can skip ahead if you want. Like the thing is they all have a problem, and then they use their witch powers to try to solve their problem, but it's like a be careful what you wish for kind of thing. But I don't think it works really well. So we got Rochelle, who's like being bullied, and then she like uses witch powers to make the person that she's bullying like lose her hair, and like at one point she like starts to feel bad, like maybe I went too far, but also like her bully was like racist, so I don't really feel that bad for her. You know. And then like same with Neve Campbell, like her whole thing is that she has these like horrible burn scars all over her body, and I don't remember if they established what those are from. She uses her witch powers. Her like wish is to like heal herself, and then like she does, and then she's like confident in how she looks, and then like later on in the movie they're like, oh, you're becoming too narcissistic, you're like obsessed with your own looks and stuff. And I'm like, or she's just like self-confident because she had this like horrible fucked up skin, and now she's happy with how she looks. Like that's I don't know, I don't think there's really anything bad about that. That seems like a win-win to me. Yeah, as someone with like a fucked up skin condition, I found her storyline extremely relatable, and I was like, no, like that's the dream. She succeeded. Like there's no bad side. There's no bad side to that. Oh no, she's happy with how she looks. Good. Like that's amazing. I don't know. Maybe this is a personal thing, but anyways, mostly I just think the side characters were not as well developed as the main two. But yeah, very fun movie, and very much like a vibes movie. There's a lot of good scenes of like the characters just like hanging out and being witchy and cool, and I liked it. Next, I watched Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Is that right? Yes. Elvira was a horror host in like the 80s, I think. I actually don't know very much about Elvira. That's kind of a horror blind spot for me. So I thought, hey, fuck it, I'll try the movie, and you know, maybe that'll give me some gleaming of Elvira the character. And I still don't know that much about Elvira, just like the legacy up to this point. I should probably just do more research. But she had a like horror hosting show. Cassandra Peterson is the actual name of the actress, but Elvira is this persona that she kind of took on, and she's known for her big personality. And then they did a movie, and it's like this very, very fun, very campy, very, very goofy movie where she ends up in this small town because she's like inherited this old house, this old spooky house from her great aunt who turns out to be a witch. And then like there's some supernatural stuff that ends up happening, but like late into the movie. And yeah, she's just like this fun character who's like kind of slutty and very funny and just like having a good time trying to get laid. And I dig it. Like there was a lot of scenes in this movie where I'm like, wow, there's a lot of jokes that are just like, she got big honkers, and yes, that's a big chunk of this movie. But like also this is Elvira is like her character and this is her movie and she's a co-writer on the movie, so like this was like I assume she was down to make that a big part of the movie. I'm assuming. More power to her. I don't want her to. At times it felt exploitative, but if like she's down to be like, yeah, I got big bazongas and I'm proud of it, then I'm like all for it. Like they even use the term bazungas unironically in this movie, which is incredible. It sounds like I'm going on about that a lot, but that's like a big chunk of this movie. But it's fun. It's very campy. I feel like I should definitely learn more about Elvira and her whole contribution to the horror genre. But this is a very fun little romp. I liked it. I laughed a good amount out loud, which is pretty good for a comedy. That's a win for me. And yeah, very, very fun personality, and I get why she's got a lot of fans. Next up, I watched Abigail, or did I watch? I watched Abigail, and I watched 30 Days of Night. I'll talk about Abigail quickly. This was fun. It's a vampire ballerina girl, which was like kind of a spoiler, but it was in all of the trailers because like that's the main thing that happened. Like it happens a little bit later into the movie, and I think they were trying to kind of go for like a From Dusk Till Dawn thing where you don't know it's a vampire movie right away, but like also not much else happens in the movie, so like you kind of have to put that in the trailers and in the marketing. Kind of a spoiler, but also not really, because also, anyways, little vampire girl ballerina, fun premise. There's some fun actors in this, like what's her name is back. Catherine Newton is back. I thought she was pretty fun. Kevin Durand, the Blob, he's back. He's back. Like no, he's in this one. He was fun. Same with Dan Stevens doing a weird like New York Queens accent, I think. But he was having a fun time. I saw a few different reviews mention that this movie was like really into using the word fuck because that's how you know it's edgy and cool. And yeah, that was true. That was something that I noticed also. They say fuck a lot. And ooh. This movie was fun but too long. It definitely needed to be 90 minutes and it was almost 2 hours. Like there just wasn't enough for the premise that they had. It also got like a little bit too convoluted with the like crime storyline they were doing. And also like not enough of little ballerina girl as a vampire killing people. She kills a few people in the movie, but it happens off screen, which is strange. And she like, attacks people and terrorizes them or whatever. And she even has like a moment where she's like, I like to play with my food or whatever. But so she's not necessarily like going all out 100% of the time. But like, I'm here to see a little ballerina vampire girl. Like, let me see her kill some people. Kind of a weird waste of the main premise. But still had some fun campy moments. Very, very much blood, so that was kind of cool. And I don't know. It's kind of there was some there were some moments that I thought were pretty funny. So I don't know. Mixed on this one, I guess. It was okay. More. Make it shorter. Make it shorter. Make it 90 minutes. That's the perfect horror length. If it's longer than that, you got to be really, really good about it. 30 Days of Night. I watched. This one was really fun. It's a vampires again. I'm watching a lot of vampire movies this month. Vampires in Alaska during peak of winter, so the sun is basically gone for 30 whole days. So they got the run of this small Alaskan town. They got William Stryker is back. Is back. William Stryker is in this one. He's a vampire, and he's killing a bunch of people in the town. The structure of this one is kind of weird. So it's like it takes place over 30 days, right? But like the vampires kill like 90% of the people in the town on day one, which like I guess is realistic. Like if you're not a Buffy or a Blade, like you're just gonna get killed by a vampire. In this one, like they don't have to get invited into a house. They can just burst through the window or whatever. So a lot of the regular vampire rules, a lot of the regular vampire weaknesses are gone. Also, it's perpetually nighttime, so there's no sun to worry about. And then like the main characters are just like surviving in a house for like the rest of the movie, and then it'll randomly cut to like day 18 or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess they didn't get killed for all those days. It's a really, really great premise, and there's some really, really fun vampire gore. I like the vampire designs as well. They look kind of like sharks. They have like black eyes. But I was also kind of thinking that it's like sort of like their pupils are fully dilated because they're creatures of the night and they have to see in the dark. That was sort of the vibe I was getting. It doesn't feel... There's some weird pacing stuff where it doesn't really feel like it's been 30 days. The vampires are scary, but they're also kind of stupid because they don't like find our main characters who are just like hiding in one of the buildings. It's like just go into every building and kill them. But still pretty fun time. I watched Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dastmalchian. David Dastmalchian. I watched Late Night with the Devil, starring Polka Dot Man. He's been doing a lot of like indie horror stuff recently. This one is a very fun and interesting premise. So the concept is that he plays this late night host who's like the second most famous late night host in the 70s, and he's trying to improve ratings somehow, and so he invites this like girl who's been possessed by a demon onto the show. And the whole thing is like presented in almost a found footage way as if we're watching the live broadcast. And then we have like during the commercial breaks, it cuts to like behind the scenes footage, and we see like the crew members and the guests interacting and stuff. So interesting presentation and format. This one was also on Shudder, but I think it might have had a theatrical run. I don't know. I don't remember. So cool premise, and then it gets like weird and psychological towards the end. Well, this is one of the things that I like about the horror genre, is that like it allows original ideas and original concepts to be made. It's one of the like only genres that's thriving in that area. So I appreciate anything that like tries a new idea. I appreciate, even if it always isn't executed perfectly. This one I think is one of those. I was engaged in watching it the whole way through and everything. It's not bad or by any means, but I did think it was lacking a little oomph. And this is a tough role to do, but like ideally having a talk show host, you want someone like very, very charismatic and very like funny. And I don't think that he, although I really like him as an actor, I don't think he was quite right in that type of role. And I'm not sure if that's just the screenplay is not that funny and that's just part of it, or if it's like that's kind of the point, because he's like, oh, he's the second best talk show host or whatever, so he's not supposed to be that funny, and maybe that's part of it. The thing that I find interesting about David Dastmalchian is he plays a lot of like psychologically interesting characters, and I think that stuff, when it gets into some of that stuff, is very good. But when he's like trying to be a charismatic talk show host, it's not quite working for me. However, like on the other side of that, I don't find a lot of current working talk show hosts to be that funny or even charismatic. So maybe it doesn't even matter to if they are or not. There's only a few really that have really, really succeeded in being like genuinely funny and charismatic consistently. And that's a really tough role to do, and that's a tough gig to be good at. So I don't know. Really cool premise. I think I liked it. But I think I also kind of wanted a little bit more, and I don't know. Maybe check it out? Not sure. And then, okay, so last night I watched Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. This was a short, around 30 minutes, so right in that, like, a little bit longer than most shorts, but shorter than a full feature. This is written by Abigail Thorne, also starring Abigail Thorne. And she is Philosophy Tube? Is that right? Is that her channel? Fuck. Yeah, Philosophy Tube. A really great YouTube channel of like video essays and stuff talking about philosophy and also a bunch of other stuff. She's also an actress. She was in House of the Dragon this last season as like a fun, weird side character in one episode. And this one is a short that she wrote and stars in, and it has some other people that I'm less familiar with in it as well. It's on Nebula, which is like a streaming service for video essay YouTube peoples, but they're also branching out into doing longer form content, some more like cinematic stuff, films, shorts, etc. Yeah, so this one is about Dracula's ex-girlfriend meeting for a dinner date kind of thing with Dracula's current girlfriend, and they talk about a bunch of various things about life and what it means to be a vampire, and one of them is like, maybe you shouldn't be a vampire anymore because it's actually kind of bad. And Abigail Thorne's character is like, no, it's awesome. You get to kill people. It's super cool. It's just like a little short. It's fun. It's got some good performances, some fun vampire aesthetics. I was curious about this one for a couple reasons. One, it's like got Dracula right in the title. So one of the things I think is interesting is that Dracula is like not in the movie at all. You hear about him a lot, but you don't see him at all, which I think is a cool choice. And the other thing I was like thinking about is like, I'm like, so is this kind of a Bechdel test movie, because it's two women and they're kind of talking about the boy that they both were or currently dating, but they talk about a bunch of other stuff also. So I think it's fine. I think it passes. I think it technically passes. I just thought that was like sort of an interesting thing where it's like, oh, we're trying to like talk about feminism and toxic relationships and abusive relationships, but also the story kind of revolves around a man. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It's short, so that was part of why I watched it, because it's a little bit shorter, and also I was curious. I think it's cool that creators that are known for, well, I think she's done a bunch of other acting too, but stuff known for like YouTube stuff branch out to other art forms. I think it's cool. And yeah, check it out maybe if you have Nebula. And that's up. Now we're caught up to today. I don't know what I'm going to watch today. I got more driving to do, and I haven't done very much driving yet. So we're going to do that. And I'll check in on a different day to see how many more movies I've seen. See you then. Welcome back. Today I'm in St. Louis or St. Louis, and behind me is the Gateway Arch, or the Percy Jackson Arch as I think of it. And If I had a hot take about Percy Jackson, I would maybe record a video about that here, but I kind of don't. I think the books are pretty good. I think the show was just okay, and I think the movies are bad. That's it. Anyways, more horror movies. Yesterday, I watched Green Room. I keep wanting to call it Green Book, but that's a totally different movie. Green Room, starring Patrick Stewart as a neo-Nazi and Anton Yelchin, rest in peace. And yeah, basically it's about this small garage band trying to find shows. They end up in this kind of sketchy bar that is also a front for neo-Nazi activities, and they accidentally witness a murder, and now they're locked in the green room of the bar and trying to figure out how to get out. And that's the movie, and it's really good. Very, very visceral, very intense. Is this a horror movie? Is it more of a thriller? I don't know. I'm gonna count it. One thing I like about it is that like Patrick Stewart and these like group of neo-Nazis are also kind of scrambling to figure out what to do, because one of their guys kills someone and they're like, okay, we have to hide the body and cover it up, and then suddenly this other element is there that they weren't counting on, and it just fucks everything up for everyone. It's an A24 joint, so you kind of get the vibe. Good camera work and lighting and stuff. Cool movie. I'm starting to question if watching horror movies every day is like good for me mentally. Just living in like, just kind of being in a more darker vibe for too long. I don't know. I like horror movies, but it's definitely a like I gotta be in the mood for it kind of thing. And I usually am in October, and I still kind of am, but just the continuing to be in a darker place every day is a little bit maybe getting to me. It's also kind of why I've been sticking to a lot of like horror comedy stuff, because I'm kind of suspecting that might be a problem. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, that's this one. See you tomorrow with something else.
I'm gonna cast a spell on you. You're gonna do what I want you to. Mix it up here in my little bowl. Say a few words and you lose control. I'm a hex girl, and I'm gonna put a spell on you. I'm gonna put a spell on you. I'm a hex girl, and I'm gonna put a spell on you. Put a spell on you.
Here we are in the world famous Kansas City AMC Theater parking lot. Today, I'm gonna go see a movie in a theater because I like doing that. We're gonna see Speak No Evil. Is that what it's called? Speak No Evil. I have a ticket and everything. It's got James McAvoy in it, and I like him, so hopefully it's good. That's all I know. But first of all, I gotta talk about yesterday. I watched Renfield, the movie about Renfield from Dracula. Starring Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage as a Dracula. It's very windy today, so hopefully the sound is not terrible. I give this one a solid not bad. There's some fun moments, some fun ideas. Nicolas Cage is very fun to watch as Dracula, just being very goofy and over the top. He's clearly having a lot of fun with the role, and I appreciate that. There's some really fun moments, like early on, Dracula gets put on fire by the sun, so then like throughout the movie he's in various stages of healing, and there's like really great makeup effects there. Awkwafina's in this movie because she's in all the movies now apparently, and she's fine. She didn't annoy me too much, so I'll give it a pass. I will give her some credit though, because she is a working actor. She's in like a ton of shit. Sometimes it's just kind of distracting because it's like I just want to watch a movie and Awkwafina's there doing her thing, doing her regular thing, and it's like, I don't know, Renfield. This movie had some like fun action, but I feel like it wasn't shot super well or edited super well. It felt like the choreography and the ideas were there, but it's like edited almost too fast or something, and the geography is kind of confusing. It felt like they weren't like letting the action be seen in its like fullest potential, because there's like some fun stuff here. Like there's a part where, because Renfield has powers in this version, he like kicks a guy's arms off, and then he's like fighting people with the arms, and then he like throws the arm like a javelin and it impales a guy to the wall. I'm like, that's a great bit. I just wish there were more bits like that you could like see clearly. So the movie uses like vampires as like a metaphor for abusive, toxic relationships, and I think there's a decent idea there. Like Renfield, the character, is this servant of Dracula who brings him bodies and people to eat, but without Renfield, like Dracula doesn't really have any power because he doesn't have people to eat. So like there's an idea there. I wish that it played with the idea like more in some of the other characters. Like there's this mob boss character played by Ben Schwartz, who's really fun, and he has this like relationship with his mother, who's also a mob boss, and you think like they're gonna play with like the dynamics of like, oh, their relationship is also kind of a toxic, abusive relationship or something, but they don't really. And same with Awkwafina's character, like she's just kind of a good cop and that's it. Like she doesn't really have like a similar type thing. She helps to inspire Renfield to maybe, hey, maybe I should actually not kill people or not help Dracula. So there's some stuff there, kind of, but like her character herself doesn't really have much of an arc. I don't know. I feel like the script could have used like another pass and maybe like fleshed out some of the ideas that I think are genuinely fun and cool. So I don't know, solid 6 to 7 out of 10. Let's go see Speak No Evil.
That indescribable feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. Oh, I can't describe it.
Okay, just saw the movie. I'm going to try to make this quick because I've got to go meet up with my cousins. It was really good. I liked it. James McAvoy was really great as like sort of a weird villain character. The title Speak No Evil makes a little more sense now that I've actually seen the whole movie. It's all about like not saying something that bothers you because you're afraid of like offending the person. It's like afraid of the fear of like being impolite. And it's really, really interesting, and it's got some really great performances. McKenna Grace, the tall Transformer girl, Terminator girl. That's not even right. She's really good. I like that we get like a horror protagonist, or a family of horror protagonists who are kind of really bad at stuff and like fumbling their way through. Like at one point they like come up with a plan and they're like, okay, this might be, maybe this will work, and they just completely fuck it up, and it's great. So yeah, really good movie. Very, very tense. Very, very good. Some good, genuinely intense and scary moments. A little bit Get Out, but without the like race element. It's maybe a bit long, but it is using, like, it takes its time to build the tension and to tell the story, so that like when shit starts going down, like it's all been built up to. My only problem is with that is just that I watched the trailer for this one, so like the trailer shows some stuff that happens like fairly late into the movie, and that's just because like that's when the crazy stuff starts happening, which is fine. So it's really just on me for watching the trailer. So I don't know, go in blind, I guess, is better experience overall. That's it for this one. We'll see. Good movie. I liked it. Okay, bye.
So the reason I was traveling to Kansas was to see a production of my cousin's play that was touring across the states. It's called Hotel Elsinore, and it's sort of a retelling of Hamlet, but through this meta comedic lens. The cousins Josh and Lily wrote it with their mom during COVID, and I was super lucky and honored to get to see it in person. This is not a sponsorship or anything, I just genuinely think the play is really excellent. So if you want to learn more, link in the description. This also meant that I got to hang out with Josh for a couple days. Longtime viewers of the channel may recognize him from this old Danny Phantom video or his cameo in Ghost House 2. We even got the chance to record some stuff. More on that in a later video. Now, back to you horror movies.
Oh, back in the car, back on the road. Just left Kansas yesterday. I'm on my way to Michigan. I don't know exactly where we are, but I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Yesterday I was driving all day, so I was pretty tired and I didn't end up having a chance to watch another movie. But 2 days ago I watched Psycho 2. That's right, they made like a bunch of sequels to Psycho in the 80s, starting with Psycho 2. I think it was kind of to capitalize on the slasher genre that was popular. And Psycho, the first one, was like kind of a precursor to some of that stuff. So they're like, let's make more. So this one it's set 20 years later. Norman Bates is now being let out of prison and he's trying to adapt to regular life. And it's like, is he going to be crazy? Is he going to kill people again? People start dying in the town, and they're like, who's doing it? Is it him? Is he going crazy? And Anthony Perkins is back as Norman Bates, and excellent performance from him once again. And he plays it perfectly on the level of like, I'm trying to not act crazy, but in doing that I'm coming off more crazy. So it's really great from that angle. Is it as good as the original? No, the original is like a classic and changed the game in many different ways. This one is good, which is kind of more than you would expect from a sequel to an all-time classic set 20 years later that nobody really expected or asked for. It's actually pretty good. Strangely, this is kind of this one is kind of a like precursor to the legacy sequel or the requel or whatever that we have like just so many of now. And it's even set 20 years later, kind of like Halloween H2O. So in a way, this is kind of Psych 2O. So there you go. That's it's that. And we have the like same thing of we're bringing back the original actor and a couple of the other actors from the original that survive, and it's continuing the story but set later. The characters are older now, etc., etc. And we play with a lot of the like classic imagery from the first movie. The plot gets a little bit convoluted, especially towards the end, but there is some interesting character stuff with Norman, and we get into like exploring his backstory with his mother a little bit more, which I know they do further in some of the other sequels. There's at least Psycho 3 and 4 I know they made after this one, and then eventually we would kind of take some of that stuff and expand upon it even further in Bates Motel, the Smallville of the Psycho franchise. So there's a lot more Psycho than anyone asked for, but you know, it's not bad. For what it is, it's not bad. I think that's it for now. So I'm gonna keep driving and we'll see you again soon. Okay, welcome back. I'm in Canada once again, back home. I got a pumpkin all ready for the spooky times. I watched a bunch more movies. I've been trying to catch up this week, so let's get into some of them. The next movie I watched is called Cobweb. This was from last year. Very, very spooky. I like this one a lot. It's got, what's her name? Lizzie Kaplan, the shapeshifter from Smallville. She's also in a bunch of other stuff, and also Homelander's in this. This one was very, very spooky. The exact right vibe for Halloween. This is a really good, like, Halloween-ass movie. Takes place during Halloween. There's a kid in a spooky old house, and you don't know what exactly is going on at first. It takes some twists and turns. There's more than one element to what is scary that is going on here. It's got just the perfect spooky vibes. The main house has like a pumpkin patch in the backyard. So much spooky atmosphere in this whole movie. Some really, really interesting cinematography. This one was solid. I liked it a lot. Very, very good, very spooky. The ending was not that good. Kind of a cop-out, spooky ending when you don't know how to wrap up your story. But other than that, I still had a good time watching it. Very, very, like, this is one of those, like, peak Halloween vibe type movies. So definitely recommend for that, like, autumn, crunchy leaf, orange, spooky time movie. Is that decipherable? Next, I watched Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. This is like a classic B movie from the 70s? Yeah, 1978. And this was one that my grandfather really liked. He passed away this month, and so this was sort of a weird attempt at me trying to honor him. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it made sense in my mind. So, because this is a movie that he really liked, and I never got around to seeing it with him, which is too bad. But I was able to see it this year for the first time, which was really cool and fun. This movie is very, very campy and very, very silly. It's about tomatoes that come alive and attack people, and it's a parody of like B-movie horror movie tropes. So it's got a lot of really silly bits. There's like any scene with where tomatoes attack people, and they're just like the poster has a tomato with like a mouth. You think that there's gonna be any design into the tomato as a monster? No, the tomatoes just look like regular ass tomatoes. Like there's some tomatoes later in the movie that have like grown giant, but they're just like these big plastic props, and they look hilarious. And any scene where the tomatoes are attacking people, fucking 10 out of 10. It rules. It's incredible stuff. Made me laugh every single time. Great stuff. And this is a movie that's like bad on purpose. So it's like very, very campy and very, very silly. And exactly my kind of humor of like just really stupid, kind of like Airplane spoof movie, a little bit Mel Brooks. But it is like a bad movie. Like it is not good. But if the humor works for you, if you're into like Airplane and Naked Gun, that kind of type of humor, it's not the same creator, so it's not on that same level, but it's like almost there. And there's some bits that really, really made me laugh. There's also some bits that are like very dated and did not work, so keep that in mind. Like there's one bit that killed me where there's this like establishing shot of what is very clearly San Francisco. You can see Alcatraz Island in the background. There's the like streetcar coming in the foreground, and then the title card just says like New York City, and it's like the stupidest joke ever. But it just absolutely killed me. It's also kind of a musical, and there's only one good musical number, and that's the main title theme, the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes theme, which absolutely slaps. So at least check out that theme, because it rules. Next I watched The Addams Family, the 1991 movie. This is not the original, because the original was a show, but this was the movie version that I think a lot of people think of like the classic Addams Family. But I guess the show was also very popular. I'm not a huge Addams Family guy. I don't know that much about it. I watched Wednesday because the guys who made Smallville made it for some reason, and so I was curious. Yeah, so I know, that's all I know about the Addams Family, and I'm familiar with the theme song. But I watched this, and it's really fun. It's really campy, it's goofy, it's interesting, because it's kind of just a series of bits. Like there's a very, very loose plot or story. The Addams themselves, like all the main characters kind of don't really change much. They're just kind of weird, spooky guys, and they like death, and that's it. Like they just stay like that the whole time. Morticia and what's the main guy? The father, what's his name? Gomez, are the horniest fucking people alive, and it's hilarious. We got
Christina Ricci, little Wednesday in this. She shows up in the Wednesday show. It's like a different character. She's good. She's good at being spooky. The main like plot is about Christopher Lloyd, who plays Uncle Fester, one of the relatives of the main Addams core Addams family, and he is involved in this elaborate plot to try to steal their fortune, and he ends up like having more of an arc in the movie, and it's like kind of his point of view for a lot of it, which is weird because he's like not the main one of them, but he's great. It's Christopher Lloyd just being the goofiest guy ever, and it's a lot of fun. It's like, again, just a very like Halloween spooky vibes kind of movie. Next I watched Scoobynatural. This is season 13. Oh my god, that's a lot of seasons. Episode 16 of Supernatural, the crossover with Scooby-Doo. Is this count as a movie and not just an episode of a show? I don't know. But I counted it, so this is what we're doing. This is the only episode of Supernatural that I've seen. I don't know that much about the show other than stuff I've heard. Like, I know it's got the guy from Gilmore Girls is there, and then the other guy is the guy from Smallville who was the gym teacher and dated Lana and is like kind of a creep. So he's there. And then they're brothers or whatever, and then there's the gay angel who gets sucked into super hell.
I love you.
He's also part of the supernatural team or whatever, and then they get sucked into Scooby-Doo, and it's fun from there, and it totally fits the Scooby-Doo canon because there is no Scooby-Doo canon, and they can cross over with whoever they want. And it's really fun. It plays with like the tropes of Scooby-Doo because traditionally Scooby-Doo is every time it turns out it's just a guy in a mask. But now that the Supernatural gang has entered that world, they've brought with them the actual Supernatural. And so now they're dealing with like real ghosts and real ghoulies. And so people start getting killed, and then the Scooby gang has to suddenly wrestle with their mortality, and it's fun. It works because unlike something like Velma, where just like that, it's the thing you know, but it's R-rated. It's like the classic Scooby gang from the 60s who are, you know, not used to seeing real ghosts and gobbles, and at first they're just like, oh, it's a dead body, that's weird, and then suddenly they have like a switch and they're like, uh-oh, are we gonna die? And it's like, that's fun. Like that's a fun premise. So I like that, and I also liked that the like supernatural plot that was happening ended up being kind of reflective of a classic Scooby-Doo plot as well. That was fun. Scooby-Doo teaches us all that the real monsters are just capitalists. So there you go. It's fun. I don't know Supernatural that well. I don't know if I care to, but this was a fun episode. Anytime Scooby-Doo crosses over with someone, it kind of works. Scooby-Doo is one of those immortal franchises that can do whatever, and it continues to work despite how simple the formula is. Next I watched The Host. This is a Bong Joon-ho film, one of his earlier films. He also did Parasite, which is, I think, a modern masterpiece, and Snowpiercer, one of my favorite movies. And this is a earlier movie that he did, also starring our boy Song Kang-ho, who's in pretty much all of Bong Joon-ho movies. And it's just like a really good monster movie. It gave me Godzilla -1 vibes, where like there's this cool monster story going on, but there's also this like very compelling human story about this family that's just as, if not more compelling than the monster. So the main plot of this one involves there's like big business, bad man corporation dumping chemicals into this river, and it creates this weird river mutant monster. And it's kidnapped the daughter of the main guy, and him and his family have to like work together to try to find and rescue the daughter. We get all this like great drama with the family. All the performances are really, really good. It's a Bong Joon-ho movie, so there's like
subtext and themes about classism going on. The monster has a really cool design, and it's like done in early 2000s CG that doesn't hold up super well, but it's also used like sparingly enough and in like creative enough ways where like we don't see the monster right away all the way, but then we do see it, it also looks like pretty good. And I think it's just a combination of just good filmmaking and good cinematography. So like every time we do see the monster, even though the CG isn't perfect, it still kind of works because it's just executed really well. And also the monster design is cool. It's weird and unique looking. It's like a fish monster thing, but it has enough like unique elements to the shape of it that it's kind of memorable. Good storytelling, good setup and payoff. One of the main characters is like an Olympic archer, and you bet your ass that she's going to be shooting arrows at the monster in the third act. Some of it is arguably predictable, but it's still fucking cool when it happens. It's just a really good monster movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. I'm glad I finally got a chance to see it because this has been on my list for a while. And yeah, it's really good. Next I watched Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter. This was not the final one. They made like 10 more. The reason I watched this one was a few years ago I was like trying to hit all the main big slasher movies, so I watched the first Friday. From what I understand, most of them are pretty much more of that. Although like Friday the 13th, what's kind of interesting about Friday the 13th is that like the first movie, if you've seen Scream, you know Jason is not the killer in the first movie. In fact, it takes a couple movies for him to even show up properly in the hockey mask. It's funny, like sometimes the things that become iconic about a character or a franchise like weren't even there originally when in the first installment. But anyways, the reason I wanted to see this one was, one, this is the original like ending of the franchise, so it's kind of like you get it from there. It does go like wacky in some of the later movies, like he goes to space, he fights Freddy Krueger, that kind of stuff. I'm okay with checking out eventually. I have seen Freddy vs. Jason, which is pretty fun and like one of the better versus movies. But anyways, this one, Friday the 13th part 4, the final chapter. Part of the reason I watched it is because we got Crispin Glover is in it, and he's great. And we got the kid, the 80s kid, fuck, why am I blanking out? Corey Feldman is also in it. Both these actors are really, really talented and play unique and interesting characters. You care about them, you want them to not get killed by Jason, so it's a little bit more like dramatic when they're in danger, those kind of things. Crispin Glover in particular is a lot of fun. He has this like famous dance scene where he does this insane dance and it's incredible. And apparently, on set, he was dancing to, like, a different song than ended up in the final movie. So, like, not only is he doing an insane dance, but it also doesn't even line up with, like, the music of the scene. So he just looks even more insane, and it's amazing. And then Corey Feldman is also, is there. He's, like, a little kid who likes monster movies and stuff. And so there's, like, almost an idea where he kind of relates to the child of Jason who was abused and then died tragically. So there's like almost an idea there, but it doesn't quite come together. Apart from a couple characters that are pretty fun, I found this movie kind of boring. It's a pretty typical slasher, like 80s slasher. There's a bunch of characters that most of which you don't care about, apart from Crispin Glover, mostly just because he's kind of weird, and I know him from other things. And same with Corey Feldman. Has some characterization, but is mostly just like, I like him because he's in other stuff I know. And then there's a bunch of other characters who are pretty stock slasher victims. And then Jason kills them all, and that's the movie. And a lot of the kills are really good and creative, so it's kind of got that going for it, but like, I don't know, it's pretty stock.
I think the first Friday the 13th is a lot more interesting because it has this interesting twist with who the actual villain is. There's some like playing with the tropes of the genre already, even though it's an early entry in like the slasher mythos, and I think that is a lot more interesting. It's a slasher movie where the slasher villain has like an actual motivation for killing teens that are having sex. It's not just because, oh, that's the rules of the horror movie. It's like, no, the villain has like a specific motivation for doing what they're doing, and I think that's kind of interesting. But in this one, it's just like, he's bad and he's killing people, and it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, there's some good gore effects, excellent makeup and makeup special effects going on, some good kills. I don't know. It's another slasher. You can watch it if you want, or not. Next, I watched MaXXXine. This is the third of the X franchise, Mia Goth, Ty West X trilogy. Very quickly, the story behind this was they were making the movie X, and then they had an idea to like do a spin-off prequel, so they just like stuck around and reused the sets and stuff and made a whole other movie that came out the same year as X called Pearl, and it's a prequel starring Mia Goth but playing a different character set decades earlier. It makes sense if you've seen the movies, kind of. So now this one because it's got to do another one, is MaXXXine, and it's starring the character from the first movie, X, again, and it's like a more traditional sequel set in sleazy 1980s Hollywood. The 80s are back once again. The first one was the 70s, so now it's the 80s. Sure. It's more than just, oh, it's the 80s. It's a very specific type of that. It's like it's got a very like the sleazy side of Hollywood. It's an A24 joint, so it's got the like the lighting and the cinematography. It's set in Hollywood, so it's got a lot of there's like a lot of scenes that take place on, I want to say, the Universal backlot, because they go to the Psycho house at one point, and they even reference that Psycho 2 is being made, so it's kind of the perfect, like, by chance I happened to watch Psycho 2 around this time. So there's like some fun stuff there. There's a lot of like playing with Hollywood and playing with Hollywood tropes. There's a mystery about this killer that's going around killing people related to Mia Goth's character, and what's going on with that. She's got trauma from the first movie, like many a horror protagonists in a sequel. I liked this one. The A24 vibe is strong. I think it's fun that this one is the third of a kind of weird trilogy that are kind of connected but are also kind of disconnected weirdly. It's got a bigger budget. There are more big actors that are in this one. Kevin Bacon shows up, and he's like a pretty significant character, and you could tell that everyone involved was having a lot of fun making it. I saw one review for this one that pointed out that like MaXXXine, the main character, like doesn't have a lot of agency, which is true and kind of strange for the plot of this one. Like in the first one, it's like a traditional-ish slasher plot, but with a little bit of a twist. So like that one is a little bit simpler. And then Pearl is like a weird, different kind of thing altogether. Or this one is just like stuff happens to her and, you know, she reacts to it, but there's not a lot of like her motivating what's happening, which is like kind of weird. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm a little bit mixed on this one. I did enjoy it. I think it's got some good cinematography and some fun vibes. If you're into the whole A24 thing, you've probably already seen this, but if you haven't, check it out, I guess. Yeah, that's this one. Okay, almost there. I got a couple more to talk about. I saw The TV Glow was the next one that I saw. This was another A24 joint. How do I even describe this one? This one is strange. So it's about Justice Smith, Detective Pikachu's son, and he's a teenager, and he and his lesbian friend get like really hooked into this show called The Pink Opaque, and it's like sort of a Twilight Zone. It's in the 90s, so it's got this like almost Goosebumps kind of a show that's like sort of for kids, but also it has a lot of really dark, scary stuff and a lot of weird mythology, and they get like really, really obsessed with the show, and it kind of becomes this weird, like, how much of what is happening is real? Are they actually supposed to be part of the show? Is part of the show real? And it's also like a coming of age kind of thing. Really, really great performances. Some of the most like A24 neon lighting going on. And very weird. And one of these movies that I feel like I need more time to digest. And maybe I need to do more research on it because I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's going for something, and I'm not confident that I could like articulate what that is. However, it is a very like vibey movie where I feel like I could see a lot of teens going through something, really digging into this one. And there is like something interesting that I related to about like just like really getting obsessed with a movie or a show or something, and like trying to understand it and not like caring about any other part of the world. And yeah, I've been there. So there's something there. I think I need to like give this one more time to digest and maybe look up, research more stuff about it. Part of the problem with me doing this is I'm trying to watch a movie every single day, and so I'm not thinking, like, this is a movie that needs like more time to think about. I could see this movie not working for a lot of people, but I don't think it's just being pretentious and like vague for the sake of it. I think it's trying to say something, and I'm not entirely sure what that is, or if it's even something that speaks to me personally or not. I don't know. I just think this one needs more time to digest, and I feel like I'm not really giving it that shot because I'm doing this weird thing where I'm trying to watch a movie every day. So I'm like, tomorrow, like the next day, I'm moving on to something else. So I don't know about this one. Weird, interesting, shot well, good performances. I'm probably missing something about it. Cause gotta move on. Then I watched Blade. This is a rewatch for me. I think I can say this, right? Seeing Blade in Wolverine and Deadpool was really, really fun. And so I was like, I should rewatch the Blade movies. So I've rewatched Blade. It rules. It's so much fun. It's very campy, but for me it rides the perfect line of like some stuff that like I think is genuinely cool and some stuff that is like so over the top and goofy that it becomes like fun and cool again. It's just a really fun, campy vampire killing time. I think there's some genuinely cool action. There's also some really goofy action, but it's super fun. There's some like very 90s, very dated CG that does not look good in this movie, but for some reason I kind of like it anyways. It's just campy enough and goofy enough and weird enough that I kind of like it, even though it doesn't look very good. And I can't really explain it. I think maybe because it's only in a couple scenes where there's really goofy, bad-looking CGI that is not good. Maybe just because it's used sparingly that I'm like okay with it, and maybe also because it's like so weird that it's kind of fun. This is a scene where these vampires are being used in this summoning ritual, and a skeleton bat creature bursts out of their mouths, and then they turn into skeletons and then explode into dust as this bat skeleton creature crawls out of their mouth and flies away. It's like so fucking weird and insane that I love it, even though it looks kind of bad. So I don't know. This movie rules. Some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill. Ain't that the damn truth? Next movie. So I'm currently watching Creepshow while still editing this video. Is this a good idea? Am I just giving myself more work? I don't know. Okay, hello. It's after Halloween. It's November 1st or maybe 2nd, I forget. The last week or so I spent
time with family, so I didn't get as many movies in as I originally had planned, but I did manage to squeeze quite a few in the last couple days, so let's go into it. The next one I saw was The Witches of Eastwick. This is a George Miller film, the director of all the Mad Maxes and all the Happy Feets. This is a rom-com about witches, kind of. It's got a crazy cast. We got Jack Nicholson, we have Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon. So crazy all-star cast. And it's a very weird movie. It's George Miller, so it's not like most other movies, and it's also not like most other George Miller movies. What a weird director, but I love him. Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon are like best friends in this kind of small town of Eastwick. They have vague, soft, magical abilities, and they summon Jack Nicholson, who's maybe the devil, or at least evil, to be their boyfriend. And they end up in this like weird polyamorous relationship, but Jack Nicholson is like clearly evil, but and it gets weird and wacky. Eventually they use their witch powers to get revenge on him. He also has some kind of magic abilities. It gets real wacky towards the end of the movie, but anyways, it's a good time. It's a very strange movie, but you know, all-star cast giving excellent performances. Jack Nicholson absolutely devouring the scenery in every scene he's in, playing just the most disgusting man ever, and it's incredible. A bit of a slow burn for this one, but it really goes off the rails in the third act, and it rules. There's also a insane car stunt that Jack Nicholson does for almost no reason, because I guess it's the same director as Mad Max, so we gotta throw some car stunts in there. Excellent stuff. Weird movie, but I liked it. Next I watched Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. This was the follow-up straight-to-DVD movie to Zombie Island, and this one is notable in the Scooby-Doo fandom for a few reasons. Number one, first appearance of the Hex Girls, this all-girl punk rock eco-goth band who play up the persona of being vampire witches. Absolutely rules, 10 out of 10. And then they show up throughout the rest of the Scooby-Doo franchise in various incarnations. The lead is played by Jennifer Hale. She made many people realize that they were bisexual, and she confirmed that I am definitely heterosexual. So there you go. This one is also pretty fun. It ranks very high on the Halloween vibes meter because we got witches, we got ghosts, we got eco-goth punk band, we got Tim Curry. Tim Curry is in this. We got pumpkins coming to life. We got small town Massachusetts. We got set in harvest time autumn with beautiful painted backgrounds of colorful leaves. So it's a very good, like, put it on in the background during your Halloween party kind of movie. While there's a lot to love about this one, I think it does suffer from pacing issues a little bit. The first half or so is kind of basically like a regular Scooby-Doo episode where there's a mystery about the witch's ghost and they have to solve it, and then oops, it turns out to be a guy in the mask. And then like the main actual supernatural stuff ends up happening in like more of the second half of the movie. And that's also when Tim Curry is allowed to go full Tim Curry. But when that happens, it rules. It's great stuff, but it takes a little while to get to that. It also feels like the last third of the movie-ish or so is also where like a lot of the budget went, so like the animation suddenly gets way better too, but it is a little slow getting to that point. So vibe-wise, excellent. Story and plot-wise, it could use a little work, although there's a lot of really fun and memorable moments and side characters. Next I watched Creepshow. This is a cult hit by director George A. Romero, director of all the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and other Dead movies, and written by Stephen King. This is one of the few Stephen King like original screenplays, not based on a story that he wrote. He just wrote the damn script for the movie. And it's an anthology horror collection. The framing device here is that there's like this cult horror anthology comic called Creepshow, and we're seeing the various different horror stories that take place within that comic. So I'll try to go through some of them quickly. They're all pretty similar in tone and style because they're all directed and written by the same team. So it's different than something like VHS where you get like more of a variety of stuff. Anyways, first one is called Father's Day, Spooky Zombie, Young Ed Harris. This one is fine. It sets like the tone for kind of the vibe of some of the stuff where it's like, it's pretty campy. It's like the framing device is that these are like campy horror stories from a kid's comic book. So it's got like all these kind of wacky camera angles. There's a lot of like weird editing choices where they try to make like the frame look more like the panel of a comic, and there's like a lot of weird stuff that they do with lighting and color that I kind of like because it's like really over the top. It even kind of reminds me of like sort of the A24 look where there's like a lot of neon lighting and stuff, but without like having any motivation for where those lights are coming from. It's just like, cause we like putting color on the frame, and that's it. The first one is about a Father's Day. There's a zombie father. It's fine. The next one is called The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. This one is notable for starring Stephen King himself. This is one of his few acting roles outside of like a small cameo in a couple movies based on his work. But here he's the lead guy, and he's like the only main character in this short story. This weird like hillbilly guy finds a meteorite in his property and is like trying to figure out if he can get rich off of it. But then this like weird moss plant life starts growing from this meteorite and starts taking over his house and maybe even his body. It gets real gross and weird, and Stephen King's performance is fucking wacky as fuck. I mean, I think this is during his cocaine era, so that might fuel some of what's going on, but it's also like very obviously intentional. They're going for a very campy vibe here, so he does this insane over-the-top performance that is like not good, but it's not really trying to be. So I don't know, it's fun, it's weird, it's interesting, it's memorable. It's kind of bad, but I had a good time. The next one is called Something to Tide You Over. I think this was probably my favorite one, and I think maybe the strongest of the bunch. This one stars Leslie Nielsen and young Ted Danson. And Leslie Nielsen finds out that his wife or girlfriend, I forget, is cheating on him with Ted Danson. So he buries her and Ted Danson up to their necks on the beach during a low tide, and then just waits for the tide to come in and watches them slowly drown. And it's like probably the darkest, like most unsettling, horrific thing that happens in this. And it also really works because of Leslie Nielsen's performance. He's obviously a very talented comedic actor, but he has this like real dry delivery here that absolutely works as this like kind of horrific villain, where he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna bury you and kill you, and you're gonna die slowly as the tide comes in. Just delivers it like very matter of fact. And he's like, and that's what's gonna happen, and then does, and it's fucked up. This one is really good. I liked it. The next one is called The Crate. I'll be honest, I kind of fell asleep for this one. I had a busy week, and then I was working part of that day that I think I watched this, so then I was just kind of like, I was tired. So I kind of fell asleep for this one. There's a crate with the spooky monster in it. The monster had a cool design, but I don't really remember much of what else happened in this one. We gotta move on. And the last one was called They're Creeping Up on You. This one was about cockroaches. Cockroaches are coming in, and they're cockroaches. They're pretty creepy on their own. This one didn't do a whole lot for me until the very ending, which is probably the most disgusting and like unsettling practical effect that I've seen maybe ever. It is awful. It is definitely the most like grotesque and horrific thing I've seen this October, in this like one moment of the ending of this movie. Yeah, that fucking got me, and I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. It was gross. It was real gross. And that's this one. There's also like a little wraparound story where the dad doesn't like that his kid is reading the Creepshow comic, and then the kid ends up getting revenge at the end. It's pretty fun. But that's Creepshow. A bit of a mixed bag, but it's kind of a fun vibe. I think it's probably one short too long. So other than that, it's pretty fun, and it is very campy, but it's doing that intentionally. So I think it mostly succeeds at the tone it's going for. Next, I watched Batman vs. Dracula. This has become a tradition for me. I usually try to watch this movie once every Halloween. I've talked about it before in a video I did a while ago, so go check that out if you want. But this movie fucking rules. It's so good, and it has no reason. It's like so much better than it needed to be. Taking place as part of The Batman, one of the Batman animated series that most people forgot about from the early 2000s, but for whatever reason they did this straight to DVD movie where he fights Dracula, and it goes so hard. It's like really dark, the atmosphere is incredible. Batman is like a perfect match for Dracula as a villain. It works on multiple levels. It's my favorite Dracula movie. It also gets away with some really dark imagery. It's probably bloodier than most Dracula movies for some reason, and it's a kid's movie. Joker turns into a vampire at one point, and it's the creepiest shit ever. And there's a lot of really great stuff with Batman dealing with this supernatural threat. This is like a foe that's very different than the type of villains that Batman usually is dealing with. It's a villain that's not only like much stronger than he's used to, but it's someone who he's like genuinely afraid of and taps into his like primal fears of bats and losing his parents and stuff. It's great. It's really good stuff, and it's way better than it should be for a silly straight-to-DVD animated movie. I also watched Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is not really a horror movie, so I won't like talk about it too much, but it is really good, and you should watch it if you haven't already. And then I watched Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. This is like a cult classic favorite of mine. Alan Tudyk and another guy who I don't know from much else other than this, but he's really good and really funny, play these hillbillies, and they end up in a cabin in the woods. Meanwhile, this group of college kids are camping in the same woods nearby, and then a series of wacky misunderstandings happen. And I don't want to give away too much if you haven't seen this one already, but it gets real gory and real silly, and it absolutely rules. It's just like the perfect mix of like gory horror and slapstick comedy. An extremely goofy movie, but it's real fun, and it's very self-aware of what it's doing. All the college kids characters are like hilarious because they're just like the most exaggerated stereotype of college kids in a horror movie, constantly making the dumbest decisions possible. A good setup and payoff, well-structured script, and also just like elevated by two lead performances, Tucker and Dale, who are genuinely hilarious and have great chemistry. They're very likable, but also very stupid and make me laugh consistently each time I watch this movie, and I've watched it several times. So I know the jokes are coming, and they still hit. And boy, do they hit. And that's basically everything that I watched this Halloween. In total, I watched 28 movies, didn't quite hit my goal of 31, but considering this month ended up being very busy for me, I was traveling, I was visiting family, and, you know, had just life things happen. I still managed to cram in a lot of movies, and I had a good time. Here are my top 5 in no particular order of what movies that I saw that I think are good and you should watch. Green Room, or an early A24 movie, kind of more of a thriller, but really great performances and like really tense and dark and very well made. Batman vs. Dracula, I already talked about. Absolutely recommend for anyone who hasn't seen it. Low-key, one of the best Dracula movies, and kind of on the upper end of the best Batman movies as well. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, always a good time. Absolutely check it out if you haven't seen it. And I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to spoil it. Blade, fucking excellent, campy, vampire killing action. I skated uphill, motherfuckers. You know it. It's good. Cobweb, for having some of the most like visceral, creepy horror that I saw this month. Is that due to the weird selection of mostly horror comedies that I watched? I don't know, maybe, but it creeped me out, so it gets a mention. The Witches of Eastwick, for being a weird George Miller movie with interesting visuals, a unique story, and incredible performances, and who doesn't love Jack Nicholson being an absolute creep. I also want to mention The Craft, which was really, really good and really fun. A genuinely great coming-of-age, spooky witches movie. Very, very fun. I liked it. And also The Host. Yes, of course, Bong Joon-ho is a very good director. I know this already, but I'm here to confirm it and say that yes, The Host is a very good movie and you should watch it. There you go. What movies did you watch? Should I do this again next year? I'm sorry this video was so long. Did you make it to the end? Leave a comment or something. Tell me what other horror movies I should watch. And what horror movies did you watch? What are your favorite Halloween movies? That's it. See you next time with a different thing. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be something. Bye-bye.